The US Open is finally here. We have US Open starting on Monday, which is going to be very exciting. I'm going to go over my kind of draw preview. This is the first real kind of draw preview, doing it the way I want to do it on the channel. When I've done draw previews in the past, they've kind of run a long time, whatever. This is kind of more so what I want to start doing as draw previews, and I'll tell you what I mean. My name's Anthony Hirsch. Welcome to the tennis commentary booth. So I want to talk about the draw, go through it in depth, and what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to go section by section. In each Grand Slam draw, there are 8 sections. I'm going to go section by section, kind of dissecting it, but also I'm going to have specific things for each section. I'm going to have the best match of that section, so it can be either first round or fourth round. What I'm expecting could be a fourth round match, or dark horses, upset alerts, and then also ultimately I'm going to give my final result. So I'm going to go over seeds, best match of that section, I'm going to go over dark horses, and overall what I think the result is going to be, who's going to beat who to reach the quarterfinals. Then I'll give predictions for quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals. And that's how I'm basically going to do it for each of the 8 sections. I have it filled out here. I'm going to see if I can try to do this kind of draw every time for a Grand Slam, kind of a big draw preview. But I'm hoping not to go too long on this, just kind of go over what I need to go over. But yeah, I'm excited to get into it. US Open, it's been a while since I've been this hyped for a Grand Slam off of the Cincinnati final and the Cincinnati tournament. Just great final, and then Wimbledon final, and Wimbledon in general was a great Grand Slam. And I feel like we're right now at such a high in the men's sport, which is so good, because for parts of the season it felt like a little bit duller than we wanted it to, and we weren't getting Alcaraz, Djokovic in a lot of the same tournaments. Djokovic couldn't play Sunshine Double, but now we're in a great spot, and I'm also excited to see players like Sinner, Medvedev. Okay, so let's go section by section here. So section 1, the seeds: Alcaraz, Dan Evans, Talon Griekspoor, and Cameron Norrie. Talon Griekspoor, been a good player this year. Norrie, not really in form. Evans is so-so, never been to the 4th round of a major, I think. Or never been to the quarterfinals, only been to the 4th round a couple times in his career. So not a great major player to this point, and he's very up and down. Won Washington, then lost to Diallo, Canadian, in the Canada Open. But anyway, those are the seeds, and then I'll put on the screen now my match for that section, my dark horses, and the final result. My matches to watch of that section: Cameron Norrie taking on Thanasi Kokkinakis. The reason I have that as a match is I know it's kind of a weird one to pick, but it's just that. I think that Kokkinakis has played epics all year. Like it doesn't matter who he's playing, he's going to have an epic match somewhere or another, whether it's Wawrinka at the French Open, Murray at Australia, or whether it's Hurkacz in Miami. Wherever Kokkinakis seems to be playing, he has an epic, and it feels like Norrie is just the perfect kind of perfect match for that, especially since Norrie isn't in his best form at the moment. So that's kind of my match of that section, and I kind of don't have a good feeling about Norrie. I think Kokkinakis might win that. I think it's a great section for Alcaraz. Tough quarterfinal, and potentially Jannik Sinner, if not even Zverev, yeah, Dimitrov maybe. But in terms of his section, I really like Alcaraz in that section. And then final result, or let's go dark horses. Dark horses, I got Kokkinakis. And I also want to shout out Dominic Koepfer. I don't think he's going to do anything against Alcaraz. He's a bit up and down. I don't know if he has the strong enough game to challenge a guy like Alcaraz, but I just wanted to say I think that's a tougher first round match than I think some people give him credit for. I don't think that's a nothing match. I have seen Alcaraz a few times struggle in early matches, recently especially. So I don't think that's a nothing match. So I just wanted to put his name out there because I do like Koepfer. And also I got to interview Koepfer, one-on-one interview with Koepfer in Atlanta. And I don't know, I just like Koepfer. So anyway, shout out. Kokkinakis is, there's no huge dark horses in this section. End result, Alcaraz defeats Griekspoor. I got Alcaraz beating Griekspoor in the 4th round. Talon Griekspoor, a really good player on the season so far. To start out the season, he was I think 13-5 to start out the season. His only losses were to Djokovic, Djokovic, Sinner, Tsitsipas, like the only top players he was losing to. He's won a few titles. He got to the final of Washington. I think he's ready to reach the fourth round at the U.S. Open. Okay, section number 2, seeds are Zverev, and then also, let's see here, Dimitrov, Echeverry, and Sonego. I'll tell you right now, this might be my favorite section. It's one of my favorites. I think it's got a lot of fun matches. I mean, these matches we have in section 2, Wawrinka, Nishioka. We got, what else, Murray versus Mute. We have just a lot of interesting players in here, like Wawrinka, Dimitrov, Zverev, players that can be dangerous. I don't know, it's just kind of, Lestian is a fun player, like, just fun players in the section, I feel like. But I'm going to put on the screen my match of the section, dark horses, and the final result. So, my kind of match of the section, I would love to see Sinner taking on Stanislas Wawrinka. Wawrinka, obviously former U.S. Open champion, and I thought Sinner and Wawrinka played in a great match earlier this year. I want to say it was in Indian Wells. It was in Indian Wells, 6-1, 6-4 for Yannick. I thought that was a good match. So I'd love to see them play against each other. Another one I have, Molchan versus Dimitrov, I think is a good one. I think Molchan is a flashy player. I think we could get some great shots in that one, just because they're both such big talents. And then, yeah, obviously the fourth round between either Sinner versus Zverev or Dimitrov potentially could be fun, but especially those first two I want to shout out. I hope we get Sinner versus Wawrinka. And then dark horses, I have Dimitrov and Vukic. Listen, when I first saw this draw, the upset that kind of stuck out to me immediately was Zverev playing Vukic in the first round. I think Vukic is playing a very tough ball recently, to be honest, and I think that that could be a tough first round for Zverev, for sure. Even though Zverev just played phenomenal in Cincinnati, I would think that he might have a tough time in that first round, because Vukic has just been playing such a tough ball. He got to the final of Atlanta, but not just the final of Atlanta. Let's see, what else has Vukic kind of been doing recently? Yeah, he beat Coric in Canada. He beat Korda in Canada as well. Only lost to Monfils, who was playing absolutely superb. He's been playing well recently, has Vukic. So I think that would be a tough match for Zverev. Vukic, a really kind of big hitter as well. So I don't know. I think Zverev could struggle. And then end result, though, I have Sinner beating Dimitrov, and I really think this could be a potential epic match. I think Dimitrov's been playing absolutely phenomenal ball all year across all three surfaces, and going into this tournament, Grigor Dimitrov is my biggest dark horse. I don't know why. I think he's playing his best tennis since 2017. On an eye test, he's playing phenomenal. He played a great match at Wimbledon against Tiafoe. He kind of wilted down in the big moments against Holger Rune. But, and a similar thing happened at Roland Garros, playing Zverev, just so many unforced errors. Mental side has been tough against the big top players, but I reckon Dimitrov is going to be a tough out. And his most recent semifinal at a major came at the U.S. Open, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, section number 3, let's speed this up a little bit, since we do have 6 more sections to go through. But yeah, but just before we go, that section's crazy. Mute, Molchan, Lestian, then we have matches like Dimitrov, we got Zverev in there, Wawrinka, Sinner. I mean, that's a fun section. Fun little section, so that's what I'm excited to follow. The seeds in section 3, we got Daniil Medvedev. In the top half, we have Borna Coric, we have Nicolas Jarry, and Demonor. Demon, who just beat Medvedev in, where was it, Canada? And and listen, they're the top seeds in this little section, so sometimes you just kind of feel like the draws kind of, they hear something out there, they like, it's meant to be. It's meant to be are the draws, and it's meant to be for Demon and Daniil to be in the same section. Kind of like Swiatek and Goff have been in the same quarter, I think, every single major this year, which is kind of unbelievable. Yeah, I don't know if I'll have time to make the women's draw. I would love to do that as well. But for now, for the men's draw, so my match, Nishikori taking on Borna Coric. Borna Coric, so-so recently, and Kei Nishikori, I've been pretty impressed. I feel like he's only improving, playing better and better. I think that could be a fun match. Nishikori, former finalist at the U.S. Open. Borna Coric has also done well in New York in the past, beat Tsitsipas here one year, I remember as well. And then my other, of course, demon taking on Medi, if we could get that in the 4th round. And I'll get to that in a moment. Dark horses. This quarter has a few fun names in it, no doubt about it, with Nishikori, and then in the next section we'll get to that too. But my kind of dark horses for this one are Jarry. My dark horse is Jarry. Nobody really stood out to me, but Jarry is a big one just because I've liked how Jarry played this year. And Jarry nearly pushed Alcaraz to 5 sets at Wimbledon. He's been playing a really top-tier, tough ball, big forehand, big serve, and just really consistent. And the mentality has been there too, especially when he's started matches off well. When he gets off to a good start, it's hard to slow that train down. Medvedev defeats Demon is my result to end off this section. Medvedev beats Alex de Minaur, gets his revenge from Canada. Okay, section number 4. Seeds, Khachanov, Hurkacz, Rublev, and Hugo Humbert. Like I said, there's some fun names, though, in this section. We got Big John, who's retiring. Listen, shout out John on a... people were always like, oh, he's so boring, serve, and that's fine. I think that's fine, but I always enjoyed watching Isner play, and to be able to have such a good win percentage in such close moments in the sport, to get out of so many tiebreakers, play so many tiebreakers, like his mentality is crazy, and he has a good rest of his game. I mean, the rest of his game is not really much compared to the rest of the top 100, but I think he has the best serve of all time. I really do. And listen, I know it's the classic, like he hits it super hard, and it's whatever. I think Roger Federer and Sampras are only just behind him for me, but the fact that he could so consistently hit any spot on the court, first, second service, kick serve is crazy, and just to hit it so fast, so consistently. He was not the fastest server. Andy Roddick consistently served 145, 150 plus. Isner wasn't like that. Isner was consistent 135, 140 plus miles per hour. So he's not even the fastest around, but he was so consistent at hitting that hard serve and just hitting perfectly on that serve. So shout out Big John, a career defined by that crazy Wimbledon match that I hope history never forgets between Mahou and Isner, because both of those guys created a match that even if we kept extended 5th sets, like I really wish that we did, and I hope that we do revert back to that at some point, even though that would be a tough thing to sell. I think I think that match will have gone down as just completely different from any other match. It's completely different from any other match we've ever seen, that Mahou-Isner match. I feel like it defines the career of Isner, who either way won 16 titles and got to the final of, I think, 5 Masters tournaments, so he's had a great career. But Isner's in this section, Monfils is in this section, Berrettini's in this section, Schwartzman is in this section, Jack Draper is in this section, also dangerous guys like Rusevori, I like Huesler as well, there are some fun names, and Khachanov has played really well. He made it to like 3 straight, or a couple straight Grand Slam semifinals, quarterfinals at Wimbledon or French, and then lost to Djokovic in a really high-level 4-setter after being up a set and getting him to a tiebreaker, outplaying Djokovic actually, but Djokovic then just brought it to another level in that Roland Garros quarterfinal. But okay, so like I said, let's speed this up a little bit. On the screen, my matches of the section. I got Monfils taking on Rublev, which would be a really fun second round. This is one of my matches of the tournament. I'll get to my match of the tournament going in, which some people might have a good guess at what it might be, I think. Although they're kind of 2 different answers, and they're both very late in the tournament. But anyway, I'll kind of give you my match of the tournament, also my story of the tournament going in. That'll be at the end of the video to kind of sum it all up. But Monfils versus Rublev. Gael Monfils played a really high-level match against Jannik Sinner, 3-setter. And listen, he's only been playing better and better. He beat Tsitsipas in, where was it? In Canada. And he's been playing better and better. Beat Kokkinakis in a tight match as well. Kokkinakis only playing tight matches this year. Kokkinakis is playing epics no matter who he's playing against. But yeah, anyway, Rublev's not been in the best form. Rublev always seems to play tight matches at the U.S. Open. I don't know. I think that's the perfect storm of of a really classic early round encounter. We'll see if it turns out that way, but I think that could be really good. And I think it could actually go the way of Monfils pretty handedly. Monfils is playing really tough ball, so Isner versus Khachanov is another one I have as well. Isner plays Argentine Diaz Acosta in the first round, who I feel like Isner should beat, especially on the hard courts in front of the home crowd at the U.S. Open. And I don't know, second round versus Khachanov, who hasn't played singles since, I believe, since Roland Garros. So I think that could be a really interesting match. So I have that one shouted out as well. Dark horses, Gael Monfils, Matteo Berrettini. Berrettini's did well at Wimbledon after not really doing well before, so he could show up at the U.S. Open again. And in fact, that's exactly what I think he's going to do. And I have Matteo Berrettini defeating Hubie Hurkacz in the fourth round and reaching the quarterfinals of the U.S. Open second year, or no, he reached U.S. Open quarterfinals 2021. But anyway, I think he reaches U.S. Open quarterfinals one more time. He lost to Djokovic in the quarterfinals here 2 years ago. Hubie Hurkacz playing really well, but he's been struggling against the top guys in the tight moments in big matches. And I reckon that the same thing could happen against Matteo, who I think is going to really pick it up in New York again with a huge forehands. And Hurkacz can hit big, so can Matteo. So I think Matteo is going to be tough like he was at Wimbledon as well. All right, section 5, we have Casper Ruud's section. Ruud tried to defend finals. Casper Ruud's section, let me see here. And he's got some interesting names to draw. Fucsovics, J.J. Wolf, Gasquet, Morazan, Watanuki, Manarino. I'm just naming pretty much everybody in this section, but there's some fun names here. Tiafoe. Obviously, the biggest names are Tiafoe and Korda, the Americans, the American duo. And on the screen now is going to be my best match of Section 5, Dark Horses for Section 5, and also my final result for this section. My kind of matches that I think people should look out for. I got Watanuki taking on Manarino. Listen, two very talented guys. If you've seen Watanuki play, then you understand, I think, why I put that match there. Korda versus Ruud, I think, could be a really good match in the third round. If Korda is healthy coming off of Winston-Salem this week, where he actually had to pull out of the semifinals, but he was playing a better level than I've seen from him in a little bit. So Korda versus Ruud could be a good one too. And for dark horses of the section, I've got Korda. I've also got Martin Fucsovics, just because I feel like Fucsovics is always playing like above his rank. He always looks like he's playing really well on the court. So that's something as well. And then for my end result, I have Tiafoe defeating Sebastian Korda. I actually had this result flipped for a big part of for a big part of when I was prepping for this video. I kind of had that result flipped, but I think Tiafoe played such a high level at New York last year. He seems really motivated, and even though he didn't do that great at Canada and Cincinnati, lost a couple tight matches against top players. He lost in the first round of Cincinnati and Canada last year as well, or second round. So he didn't have a great lead up at last year either, but he really showed up in New York, and I really like his draw. Like I said, Korda, he hasn't been playing a whole lot of tennis up until Winston-Salem, and he's kind of been up and down recently. And like I said, there's also the health concerns as well. So I got Tiafoe over Korda, and I think it would be good for Sebastian Korda even to reach the fourth round. And but I think Tiafoe reaches the quarters. And I don't know. I picked Tiafoe way deeper in this tournament than I expected to. Trust me, I really didn't think I'd pick him this deep, and I'll tell you what I mean later. Section 6, we got Tommy Paul, we got Davidovich Fokina, Bublik, and Rune. My best matches for this section, Paul versus Fokina, I think is a good match to point out. And then Rune versus Paul in the fourth round is a one that I think is one to watch as well. I think that could be a really fun match considering where each player's form is at. You would expect Holger Rune as the favorite, but Tommy Paul has a top 5 win percentage on hard courts this year. And I kind of think Tommy Paul had an underrated U.S. Open last year as well. He also beat Sebastian Korda in 5 sets at last year's U.S. Open. He was lower ranked than Sebi Korda was at the time as well, and then he only lost to Casper Ruud, who reached the finals and was playing really good at the U.S. Open after not doing so well in Cincinnati, losing to Ben Shelton. Ruud was playing a big game, hard forehands and just big RPMs forehands as usual, and just doing really well at the U.S. Open on the kind of faster courts in New York. Casper was playing a good ball, and I don't know. It was a tight match, though. Paul got close to winning it, and it was like 4 tiebreakers, I think, in the first 4 sets, then like 6-0 in the 5th set. But it was a really tight match, and Tommy Paul had his chances. So I just think that Tommy Paul is somebody to watch at this tournament this year. Then obviously a big popcorn match is Bublik Team, but I actually didn't put it as one of my big popcorn matches, really, because I don't know. I don't have a great feeling about Team at this tournament. I kind of feel like Bublik is playing too good for him right now, so I don't know if that's going to be as close as a lot of people hope that it's going to be, even though on clay I think that it would be. At the U.S. Open, I'm just a little bit less sure, despite Team always bringing a good level at the U.S. Open. Instead, for matches I have to watch, like I said, Paul Fokina, Rune versus Paul, and then also I got Karatsev taking on Lehechka, because I don't know, Karatsev, always fun to watch, clean hitter, very talented, and he played a great match versus Tiafoe in Washington, and has been playing good recently, and Lehechka is in the final of Winston-Salem as of me making this video. Dark horses, I got Bublik, I got Karatsev, but nothing major. And then some people would put Fokina as well. I'm not as confident at the moment, but we'll see. And then my end result, I got Holger picking up his level and beating Paul in the 4th round. I got Holger beating Tommy Paul in the 4th round to make it to the quarterfinals. And I don't know, Holger seems to pick it up in the majors. He got to the quarterfinals, Roland Garros and Wimbledon. So I don't know. I'm picking for a three-peat here, and Tommy Paul, I don't know, deep in tournaments, doesn't always pick it up against the top players, even though he has against Alcaraz now a couple of times. So then section 7, I got Tsitsipas, Eubanks, Musetti, and Fritz. We could get a rematch of Tsitsipas versus Eubanks from Wimbledon, but then also Tsitsipas has another big server in his first round against Raonic, which could be fun. Raonic beating Tiafoe in where was it? In Canada. So that could be fun too. So Tsitsipas Raonic is my match of the section, and Tsitsipas versus Eubanks. Dark horses, I got Raonic. And I also got Eubanks. So that's kind of my story of the section, is seeing what those two guys can do against Tsitsipas. And then also on the other side, we got Musetti, we got Fritz. But in the end, I got Fritz beating Tsitsipas in the 4th round. Tsitsipas, for whatever reason, doesn't really pick it up at the U.S. Open. I don't even know if he's ever reached quarterfinals here. It's a really strange kind of tournament for him. It's possible he's made quarterfinals once, but last year Tsitsipas lost in the first round. Even though I'm not huge on Taylor at the moment, and Fritz also lost in the first round last year against fellow American Brandon Holt, but I got Fritz pulling it out. Seeds in this section, FAA, Cerundolo, Gera, and Novak Djokovic. Match of the section, I actually kind of have none. I think this is a very good section for Djokovic. In fact, I think Novak couldn't have asked for a much better draw. I think he has a great draw to kind of find his way and crawl his way to like the end of the tournament. None of these players in the section, I mean, let's look at the players in the section real quick. McDonald's is kind of dangerous. FAA's not been informed. Vesely, he would have to make it to the 4th round. Also, he's been playing like challengers. He's not really informed. Neither is Francisco Cerundolo. Especially Gera on clay courts, especially, maybe he could do something. And he's a good player on hard courts too, but and Zapata Marias, but same thing goes for him. I just don't see anybody there that can really test out Djokovic in a big way, especially since FAA, Felix Auger-Aliassime, is not informed. So I kind of have none. I said Djokovic, Felix, if Felix finds form, but that's kind of about it. And then dark horses, I have Mackie McDonald. I just shout out to him because he's been playing a pretty good ball and he could do something. He plays against Felix in the first round, so that could be an upset. And then in the end, I have Djokovic defeating Francisco Cerundolo in the 4th round. Listen, I had a hard time even picking who Djokovic would be beating in the 4th round. I have hard-hitting Cerundolo, who also made it deep at Roland Garros, nearly made it to the quarterfinals, but lost to Rune deep 7-5 in the 5th set. So anyway, I have Djokovic there. Okay, and that leads us to my quarterfinals predictions. For quarterfinal predictions, I have Djokovic beating Fritz in 3 sets. I think Fritz will make it a little bit tighter than in Cincinnati. Maybe one set goes to a tiebreaker, but I think that still Djokovic is going to beat him pretty comfortably in 3 sets. I've got Tiafoe beating Holger in 4 sets, so I got Tiafoe making semis again, and he beats Holger in 4 sets. Holger loses in 3 major quarterfinals, 3 in a row at Roland Garros, Wimbledon, U.S. Open. I got Tiafoe defending semis. I didn't think I would be saying that, but that's what I got. And then I got Medvedev beating Berrettini in 4 sets. Medvedev is 3-0 on Berrettini, and Berrettini will be more than happy with a quarterfinal, I would think. And I think that Medvedev is going to be too strong. I think he's going to really pick it up in New York. And then the big one, Sinner beating Alcaraz in 4 sets. I got Sinner with revenge after that all-timer, topsy-turvy match, a tug of war, a mental, physical tug of war last year where Sinner was up 2-1 serving for it with a match point, and Alcaraz climbed his way back. After Sinner climbed his way back in set 2 and 3, and then Alcaraz pulled it out in a high level 5-setter over 5 hours and 15 minutes, going till 3 a.m. in New York between the 2 young guys, proving that this next era is an era that's going to be unlike any other era, and it's also going to be a really fun, great era as well. But I got the result flipped on its head. I think Jannik Sinner gets revenge over Alcaraz, like he did in Miami earlier this year, beating out Alcaraz. And I think Sinner does it at a major, and similar to Wimbledon, he beats him in 4 sets. I got Sinner beating Alcaraz in 4 sets. The motivations. I think the motivations are a big thing for Jannik. I really liked how Sinner played in Canada. I didn't like as much how Alcaraz played most of Canada. Cincinnati, he showed up big in U.S. Open, but that's also going to be a tough he showed up big in Cincinnati. Did Alcaraz, but that Cincinnati final, that epic between Alcaraz and Djokovic, that's going to be a tough one for Alcaraz to swallow, although I think he can, but I think that's a tough draw for Alcaraz, and I reckon that he can win for sure, but I think that Sinner gets it done in 4 sets. And then, so that's Djokovic, Tiafoe, Medvedev versus Sinner. And then after that Sinner-Alcaraz match, I got Jannik Sinner winning his first U.S. Open. I think as often happens after an all-time classic like that, I think a guy just goes back for revenge and knows how well he can play at that tournament as well. So I got Jannik getting it done at the U.S. Open and getting his first major. You got to go big. Last 3 years, we've had big champions at the tournament. We got, Dominic Thiem in 2020. We had Daniil Medvedev in 2021. And we had, Carlos Alcaraz in 2022. So I think the surprise champs continue. And I got Jannik getting a major for the first time. He got close at the U.S. Open last year. If he had pulled through that match point against Alcaraz, maybe he would have done it. So I just got a good feeling about Jannik. I like how he's playing. He was hitting super big, constant depth. In Canada, he's improving on the serve a bit. He was very clutch on serve in that tournament. And I don't know. I'm liking him more and more. And Alcaraz and Djokovic might be exhausted after Cincinnati, which basically played out like a major final. Sinner lost in the first round there, but to Dusan Lajovic. But that might be a good thing at the end of the day. I think Jannik and Tiafoe are both going to have crazy motivations after last year's U.S. Open, where they both did very well, but still just couldn't quite cross the line. And I think Djokovic, recovering physically after that Cincinnati final, and I don't know, he's had a long season. I am very excited, not just for Djokovic, Alcaraz, but also a lot of these other players. Some of these guys like Rune, Tsitsipas, and then also Ruud, and just a few of these guys, they're not FAA, they're not really in form, but I think that just makes it super interesting because I feel like the draw is very open, unpredictable, and some of these dark horses players near the 20 through 40 spots like Berrettini, like Greek Spore, like Jarry, some of those guys are playing really high level at the moment, so I feel like it's really unpredictable how this draw is going to unfold. And if we do get Djokovic Alcaraz number 5, I think that's going to be super interesting. I don't know. I think Alcaraz, if we do get that match, I think Alcaraz is going to learn from the Cincinnati final like he did at Wimbledon after losing in Roland Garros to Djokovic. So we'll see what happens. I think that Alcaraz Sinner match is going to be a big match for this U.S. Open, like it was for the U.S. Open last year. This has been my draw preview for the U.S. Open. I hope to do more content for the U.S. Open as well. I'll be doing streams for Quality Shot Tennis. Also podcasts. I have a new podcast on there called Tennis 360. We'll be covering the U.S. Open. I hope to do a few more videos on here as well. But it's been Anthony Hirsch with Tennis Commentary Booth, and I will see you guys at the next video.